Buddy, you'll remember 99% of the most frequently tested TOEFL art history words by the end of this video. I'll take you across centuries to effortlessly memorize the hardest core art vocabulary. The first page pulled me into a sandy desert. I saw huge pyramids and colorful wall paintings. This was Egyptian art. The people drew figures in profile with flat colors. I realized that every culture has its own aesthetic, its own idea of beauty. The paintings were not just decorative, they had deep religious meaning. It was both artistic and spiritual. The sand cleared, and I found myself in a marble temple. Beautiful statues stood all around. This was Greek art. The Greeks celebrated the human body, and they created amazing sculptures of gods and athletes. They also painted figure painting on vases, often showing nude male figures to represent strength and beauty. I could see their technique. They studied anatomy to make their art lifelike. Next, I walked into a Roman hall. The walls had frescoes, and there were many stone busts. This was Roman art. Unlike the idealized Greeks, Romans made very realistic portrait busts. You could see wrinkles and scars. They wanted to show true character. They also used art to celebrate victories and emperors. I learned that art can be a powerful medium for messages. Suddenly, everything glittered with gold. I was in a Byzantine church covered in tiny colored stones, mosaics. This was Byzantine art. The figures had large eyes and solemn faces, expressing deep spirituality. I noticed the careful composition, how figures were arranged symmetrically. The artists used art as a tool for religious expression, not for realism. Every detail had meaning. The book flipped again. First, I saw heavy stone churches with round arches, Romanesque style. Then, the pages turned to pointed arches and soaring spires, Gothic style. The Gothic cathedrals had huge stained glass windows that told Bible stories. Both styles used different technique and composition. I was amazed at how architecture could inspire awe and bring light into dark spaces. Suddenly, I was in a bright Italian studio. Artists were sketching, mixing colors. This was the Renaissance, a rebirth of classical learning and art. I saw the three great masters, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael. They are called the three geniuses of Renaissance. Their works showed incredible creativity and imagination. I felt a surge of inspiration just watching them. They studied anatomy, light, and perspective to create lifelike art. The grand hall was filled with paintings of heroic figures in ancient costumes. This was Classicism, which valued order and harmony. Then I saw later works that revived that same spirit, Neoclassicism. These artists worked on large canvases with a limited palette of muted colors. They wanted to capture the noble simplicity of the ancient world. I realized that art movements often look backward for inspiration. The next room was wild and dramatic. Stormy seas, mountains, intense emotions. That was Romanticism. Artists like Delacroix painted with passion. But then I turned around and saw plain scenes of peasants working. That was Realism. They painted ordinary life, not heroes. I saw beautiful landscape paintings of nature and also detailed portraits of ordinary people. Both styles were reactions against the strict rules of classicism. My final stop was a French forest. A group of artists sat outside, painting the trees and fields directly from nature. They were the Barbizon School, pioneers of naturalism. They believed art should be true to nature, without idealization. I later saw their works in an exhibition room and then in a grand gallery with many visitors. It was wonderful to see how art moves from the painter's easel to public viewing. See? You don't even need to grind through boring textbooks. I highly recommend rewatching this to reinforce your memory. Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be waiting for you in the comments below. Bye!